I put together a Benjamin Moore color palette that is both organic yet modern. Very trendy, I must say. This is going to be my current Wabi Sabi palette, which is one of my favorite interior design styles that I wish I could incorporate more in my home. And if you're new here, I'm James from the Paint People, and the way that I like to put colors together is with the palette pyramid, starting with the main color up top, which is the default choice, the support colors right below, which are more secondary in nature, and then the finishing colors down below, the accent colors. But before I get into these organic modern colors, click that subscribe button and that like button, and don't forget to press that bell to stay up to date with all of our content that's coming out. So let's start at the top of the pyramid, the main color, the default choice. If you had one color to paint your entire house with in this palette, the main color would be the one. And in this case, it's Abalone by Benjamin Moore. Love this color, not one that is as popular as the classic grays or the silver satins of the world, but what I love about it is it brings in an earthy stone quality to it that combines a little bit of brown, maybe a touch of red as well in the deep undertones. I would almost call it a grouge. Bit of a rougey gray, and this does sometimes translate to a slight purple touch, but nothing that's too distracting. Abalone also has roughly a 62 LRV, or light reflectance value, which means it's going to feel bright enough to reflect a decent amount of light back into the space, but not so light that it's going to feel very washed out and boring and bland. It's a more interesting alternative to a more beige-leaning neutral that is more just reliant on that warmth from yellow and orange. This one goes in the other direction where it's a little more earthy, a little more grounded, which I love. So that's the main color done. What about the support colors? Now these are going to be secondary options that could be great on the trim, or another wall color option that is more neutral leaning, not so much an accent color. We'll get to those in a little bit. Starting with an off-white that I like to pair with Abalone, and that's Vanilla Milkshake. Not your traditional clean stark white, but I do love it in this palette because it's a little more, not rough around the edges, but it's an off-white rather than a pure white. And other than maybe snow, there's nothing really pure, clean, sterile white in nature. So I wanted to reflect that in this palette with an off-white like Vanilla Milkshake. Pretty versatile, a touch of warmth, but also more of that grayed out feeling that I like in an off-white. And more importantly, there's still going to be enough contrast between it and Abalone to give you a pretty clean looking trim that just suits the rest of the colors very, very nicely. The second support color is going to be a suitable secondary wall option rather than trim. It's called Metro Gray. A lot of similarities with Abalone in terms of its depth. Having a roughly 58 LRV, it's a little bit darker than Abalone, but still within that upper half lightness wise for all colors. Metro Gray does give you more of that gray feeling, which is not surprising considering its name. You don't really have Abalone's strong brown undertone as much, but you do still have that kind of earthy, grounded feeling that ties the two colors together. This one does feel more like a boulder gray, as in like a boulder rolling down a hill. And it's described by Benjamin Moore as a hazy gray hue reminiscent of a foggy morning. So I think it suits the palette perfectly. And really quickly, buy your paint online at thepaintpeople.com. We service pretty much all of North America. So anytime you need paint or paint supplies, thepaintpeople.com is your go-to source for all things painting and decorating. Main color done, support colors done. What about the finishing colors? These are going to be accent choices, a little more richness, a little more saturation, but still within this organic, modern, wabi-sabi theme. And the first one I wanted to mention is Plymouth Rock. Another neutral that is tied to earthiness and rocks and boulders. I just love these kinds of colors. Plymouth Rock is even darker than Metro Gray. It's around a 42 LRV, so that is in that lower half now. And it is more so a taupe, which combines brown and gray in a more balanced feel. A little bit of warmth, surprisingly. There seems to be a little bit of a beige lean here, so more optimistic warmth, but because it is darker overall, it will feel fairly substantial. We then move to Stardust as the second finishing color, and it's going even further towards that direction of darker, but still warmer. So I feel there's almost a combination of brown, gray, and a little bit of a bronze that can sometimes take it into a green direction. So that gives you some differentiation. We didn't really see a lot of green undertones in the other colors. Stardust gives you that while still feeling very much like a taupe, a dark grayed out tan color. The third finishing color is the darkest color of the bunch. It is perfectly named for this palette. It's called Stone. Yet another combination of gray and brown, but as you can see, a lot more gray feeling, almost harkens back to Aballone's kind of mauve purple undertone that shows up. But what I like about it is it's not too overwhelmingly dark, where it can still be a suitable wall color in an entire room rather than just an accent wall. With these finishing colors, you really have three different options of lightness, but also color temperature. With any palette pyramid, don't feel like you need to use all the finishing colors. They're usually used as a finishing touch. So pick the one that suits you and your room the best. Here's the palette pyramid all together. Please let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your opinion in the comment section below. And if you're interested in even more Paint People content, consider becoming a Patreon today. Link in the description down below.